80,000 well-armed Russian troops and armored tanks at Ukraine's border. My next guest says Putin is holding all the cards on this, and that President Obama is either really dumb or getting some really dumb advice. Stephen Cohen, professor emeritus at NYU and Princeton University, joins me now. Good evening, Professor. It's great to have you.
I don't recall saying Obama's dumb. Now, come on, play fair with me. And you already scared me so badly with your opening statement.
Do you agree or disagree with it?
Oh, I completely disagree. Well, I agree with half of it. And the reason I disagree with half of it is I was taught when I was a kid, there's two sides to every story. You gave one side. I think the Russians have a story.
Okay, and I've been a prosecutor, and there's two sides, and it's not always in the middle.
That's true, but we are closer to war with Russia. You're not old enough to remember this. Than we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962.
Why?
Because you've got mobilization of troops on one side, you mentioned them, I don't know if there's 80, but there's too many Russian troops on the eastern border, and we're moving NATO troops around western Ukraine, Poland, Romania in the area. That's not good. If somebody crosses lines, Putin into Ukraine, NATO troops into western Ukraine, you've got the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now, where are we at? We're at a situation where the Russians have made a proposal. Whether we're taking it seriously privately or not, but I agree with you, what Obama's saying just isn't relevant to the situation. But here's the funny thing, and here's where you come in. At bottom, there are legal issues involved here. We say to Putin, you invaded Crimea. He says, I didn't invade Crimea. I had a contract with Crimea that I could have 25,000 troops there. We say, you had an illegal referendum. He says, it's not illegal, you do it all the time. Then we say, you annexed Crimea. He says, you annexed Kosovo. One other thing, they both went to law school. They're both lawyers. Why don't we settle this like this? You have them on your show. Putin and Obama, they don't need lawyers, they're lawyers. You're the judge, but unlike your opening statement, you listen to both sides.
Absolutely. But see, here's the question. Is the perception of power on Putin's side, and why did Putin pick up the phone?
Because he thinks we are in a crisis. Look, the one thing you left out is you've got tails wagging the dog inside Ukraine. What's going on in Ukraine is scary. What's going on could provoke a war we don't want. So
a third world war.
A horrible
because
war.
If we get involved in it, and Europe has to get involved in it as well, I assume.
Yes, Europe would be involved. But here's the point. Why did Putin call? Because he's alarmed at the crisis. It's reached a point where there's not a way out. Now, here's your problem. You're the judge. Putin thinks Obama and Europe created the crisis. Obama and Europe and the judge think Putin created the crisis. But Putin's worried that it's getting out of control. And he should be, if you listen to what people are saying.
But isn't Putin the man who understands KGB, Intel? Doesn't he understand that his country's economy is in the tank, and that he absolutely needs all of this? I mean, that this was a long thought out plan. That if he were going to survive, he needed that.
Don't listen to that. Do you remember the Sochi Olympics? Do you remember how pleased he was that there was no terrorism, that the Russian team went well? He was basking in the glory. And suddenly this crisis, why would he want this crisis? It spoiled everything he had spent 5 years and $50 billion achieving. No, this crisis was triggered by something else. That's another story. But he doesn't want this crisis, and he wants it over now.
Okay, but you said that Putin bashing in the media is an obstacle to our national security.
Well, listen to your opening statement.
Why is that?
Well, because you gave one side of the story.
But the point is, we say there are going to be costs, and he takes Crimea anyway, and there are no costs, and the international community wasn't with us.
I agree with that.
You do agree with that?
Yeah, he's not bearing. Well, he's bearing some costs, but nothing he can't bear.
Well, yeah, I'm going to revoke your visa to Disney World. Come on. Come on. And Putin does the same thing.
Let me ask you.
Real fast.
Let me ask you a question.
No, I got to ask you. I got 15 seconds.
You're Putin. NATO comes at Russia for 20 years, and finally it crosses his red line, Ukraine. What do you do?
Yeah, well, I guess if you're a leader, if there's a red line and someone crosses it, then you do something, which is not what we have going on.
But you just offended Putin.
Huh? No. What I did was let me tell you something, Steve. I agree with you. I think Putin is a strong leader, but he's not my leader. Okay?
But you're supposed to be a judge. You're not supposed to have a dog in this fight.
You know what? I'm an American who's interested in the safety of Americans. Yeah. Anyway, Steve Cohen, it's always good to have you here. Thank you. And coming up, debris the color of Malaysia Flight 370 spotted. Could this be it? That's next.
In every life, there are moments of certainty. When you know, you know. The all-new Volvo V60 Sports Wagon. Test drive one today.
Meet Dan. He owned a dog biscuit company, but Dan wanted more. So Fast Signs created a plan to raise Dan's business.